The morning sun had just begun to rise over the Sabarmati River. The air smelled of wet earth, tea, and incense drifting from a nearby temple. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, standing by the window of his residence in Gandhinagar, looked at the glowing horizon with quiet reflection. Even after decades of political life, journeys from the dusty lanes of Vadnagar to the grand corridors of New Delhi, there were mornings when old memories crept in silently, uninvited yet comforting. That day was one such morning. As he sipped his tea, a faint thought surfaced, like a whisper from the past. Where is Ramesh these days? Ramesh Patel, his childhood friend. They had studied together in Vadnagar, played by the railway tracks, shared tiffins of thepla and mango pickle, and dreamt of doing something big for the country. Ramesh had been a cheerful boy, always laughing, always helping others. But as years went by, life had taken them down very different paths. Modi had become a public servant and Ramesh, well, he had simply vanished into the folds of time. That morning the memory refused to fade. Modi closed his diary and decided that after his scheduled meetings, he would ask someone from his team to find out what had become of his old friend. 2. The search that afternoon, after an official event, Modi quietly called his personal secretary, Sanjay. "Sanjay Bhai," he said softly, "can you find out if a man named Ramesh Patel still lives near Vadnagar? We studied together when we were children." Sanjay smiled, a little surprised by the warmth in Modi's tone. "Of course, sir. I'll ask our local contacts." Within a few days, the team found something. Ramesh Patel indeed lived in a small village not far from Vadnagar, but the report that followed made Modi's heart heavy. Ramesh was living in poverty. His small tea stall had shut down years ago. His wife was unwell, and his children worked in daily wage jobs to make ends meet. The moment Modi heard this, he grew silent, his eyes fixed on the floor. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he murmured almost to himself, "He used to share his lunch with me when I couldn't afford mine, and today he struggles for his own meal." That night, sleep evaded him. He thought about the old days, the dusty classroom, the laughter, the promises they'd made. He knew what he had to do. 3. The journey back 2 weeks later, on a visit to Gujarat for a developmental project, Modi requested a small detour. His security officers were puzzled. He rarely made unplanned stops. But when he explained it was to meet an old friend, even they couldn't object. The convoy took a turn from the highway and entered the narrow lanes of a quiet village. Children waved at the cars, not fully aware of who sat inside. The motorcade stopped near a cluster of old mud houses. Modi stepped out, wearing his usual simple kurta and shawl. The village head ran forward, confused but respectful. "Pradhan Mantraji, Apyahan," Modi smiled gently. "I came to meet someone, Ramesh Patel. Does he still live here?" The headman pointed toward a small hut near the edge of the village. "Yes, sir, but his condition is not good. He doesn't expect visitors." Modi nodded silently and began walking toward the hut. 4. The reunion. The small hut had a broken roof patched with tin sheets. A frail man sat outside on a charpoy, trying to fix an old radio. His hair was silver, his clothes faded, but his eyes, though weary, still held a spark of life. Modi approached slowly. For a moment he just watched his old friend, frozen by the weight of years gone by. "Ramesh," he said softly. The man looked up, squinting in disbelief. His hand trembled, the screwdriver falling from his fingers. Narendra Modi." Modi smiled, eyes glistening. "Yes, Bhai, it's me." Ramesh staggered up, tears welling in his eyes. "You here? I can't believe this." They embraced each other like brothers who had been separated by fate itself. The villagers stood around in silence, watching their prime minister hug a poor man like an equal. For several minutes they didn't speak, just sat side by side, letting the silence carry the emotions words couldn't hold. Finally, Ramesh chuckled through his tears. "You still look the same, Narendra, just with more security guards." Modi laughed heartily. "And you still make people smile." 5. Memories rekindled. They sat together under the neem tree, sipping tea that Ramesh's daughter had hurriedly made. Modi asked about his family, his children, his health. Ramesh spoke honestly, without complaint, as if poverty was just another guest in his house. "I tried many things," Ramesh said, "but times were hard. Still, I'm content. My son works in the nearby town. My daughter wants to study further, but we'll see." Modi listened quietly, his heart heavy. He looked around. The cracked walls, the broken utensils, the fading smiles. He remembered the little boy who used to feed stray dogs and share his sweets with others. Then Ramesh asked softly, "And you, Narendra, you've done so much for the nation. You must have forgotten all these small people like me." Modi shook his head firmly. "How could I? You stood by me when I had nothing. You taught me kindness before politics ever did. I may live in Delhi now, but my heart never left places like this." 6. The promise before leaving, Modi stood and placed his hand on Ramesh's shoulder. "Ramesh Bhai," he said, "I can't erase the years of struggle you faced, but I promise they end today." He called his secretary aside and gave quiet instructions. That evening, local officials visited the village. Within weeks, Ramesh's family received a new house under a rural development scheme, proper health care for his wife, and scholarships for his daughter. When Ramesh tried to thank him, Modi simply said, "This is not charity. This is what every citizen deserves. You were my friend before I was anyone, and friends never let each other fall." 7. The media storm when the news broke. The story of Modi visiting his childhood friend spread like wildfire across the country. Photos of their tearful hug appeared on front pages. Reporters flooded the village, wanting every detail. But Modi refused to speak about it publicly. When a journalist asked him during a press conference, he simply replied, "Some acts of friendship do not need publicity. They are not political gestures, they are human ones." The humility of those words moved millions. 8. The ripple effect across India. People were touched by the story. Many began reaching out to their old friends, to people they had forgotten in the rush of life. In small towns and cities alike, the story sparked a quiet movement of kindness. One teacher from Rajasthan wrote to Modi saying, "Sir, after hearing about your reunion, I found my old student who had dropped out due to poverty. I helped him get back into school." Another letter came from a businessman. "I met my old friend after 20 years. We now run a free meal program together." Modi smiled as he read those letters. The story wasn't just about him and Ramesh anymore. It was about India remembering its humanity. 9. The friend's gift. Months later, when Ramesh's life had stabilized, he decided to visit Delhi. He wanted to thank his friend personally. When he entered the Prime Minister's residence, he carried a small, hand-woven shawl made by his wife and daughter. He offered it to Modi, who accepted it with folded hands. "This," Ramesh said, "is the only thing I can give you. It's made with love." Modi wrapped it around his shoulders, eyes moist. "This is worth more than all the awards I've received." As they sat together in quiet reflection, Ramesh said, "You've changed so many lives, Narendra, but for me, you've done something greater. You reminded me that friendship never dies." 10. Reflections by the river. That evening, Modi walked alone by the Yamuna River. The city lights shimmered on the water. He thought about how easy it was to forget the faces, the friendships, the small acts of kindness that shape who we are. Power and position could build walls, but compassion could always tear them down. He remembered his mother's words from childhood, "Beta, greatness is not measured by how high you rise, but by how many you lift when you rise." He closed his eyes and whispered, "Ma, I hope I am doing that." 11. The moral time passed. Ramesh's family flourished. His daughter became a teacher. His son started a small business. Every Diwali, Modi would receive a handwritten letter from them, simple words of gratitude and blessings. He kept those letters in his drawer alongside his most precious mementos. Whenever the burdens of leadership grew heavy, he would open one of those letters and remind himself of the purpose that had driven him from Vadnagar to Delhi. The purpose to serve, to uplift, to remain human. Epilogue. The circle of life. Years later, during a speech at a school, Modi shared a story not mentioning names, but everyone understood what he meant. He said, "When you succeed in life, never forget those who walked beside you when you were small. The world may call you powerful, but true power lies in remembering your roots, because one day it may not be your achievements that define you, but your kindness." The hall erupted in applause. Yet Modi's eyes were far away, lost in the memory of a dusty classroom, a shared lunch, and a friend who had once said, "Narendra, one day you'll do something great." And perhaps in finding that friend again, he truly had.